All right, Inferno fans, we are here with bad 3DS games. Let's get right into it. Oh, dark. Who cares? Centipede Infestation. Where's it at? Burp, 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 burp. There it is. You know, we no need for this. Mini Terminator. Hello, Karen. Yes, I can do bad Mario games after the Vita list. Alright, so let's talk about this embarrassment. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to the original arcade Centipede, but it has a lot of enhancements. But here's the problem. The enhancements were very shallow. Karen, you don't have to constantly tell me what list I'm going to do next. Or rather, you don't have to constantly tell me to say what list is next. I always say what list is next. Just so you know. This is not my first rodeo. Squish, squish. There. Now, the game is actually very short, but it's overly simplistic. See, short games can be okay if they're done well, and this one is not. There's very shallow upgrade systems that leave you wondering, like, why they couldn't implement better upgrades to make the game more fun. But, it also has very mediocre graphics. Overall, this was not one of the worst reviewed games, but that's probably why it's only number 10 on the list instead of further up. But, let's exterminate this. Will the Mario video be one or split in two? Probably split in two. Excuse me, while that burns out, I'm going to try to get the last of these junior mints out of the bottom of this box. Doggone it. I think it's a lost cause. Unless I do this. There we go. There we go. Hee hee hee. Alright. Next. Let's talk about F1 2011. Let's see. Gotta have that. And do we have something? Yeah, let's do that. And since these are all handheld games, there's going to be a handheld in every single piece of destruction. Do some more teeth scraping on these junior mints while we wait for our packages to arrive. Alright. So this shows the front and the back of the cover. Ooh. So, F1 2011. The one biggest and most prevalent problem in this game is that the AI is like so random and like needlessly aggressive. Like the types of aggressive maneuvers that the AI does in this game would actually get you disqualified if it was a real F1 race. There's also some other very questionable design elements, like how cars tend to slide through turns and other unnameable things, and just plain old muddy textures. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. There you go, kitty. Oh, we oops, almost burned the kitty before it was time. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. We have to cover it with dookie to signify the muddy textures. Very nice. Very nice. Let's move on. Asphalt 6 Adrenaline, which apparently is just called Asphalt 3D. So let's get our handheld. No, not this. This. There we go. So let's talk about this Asphalt 3D, aka Asphalt 6 Adrenaline. This game suffers from a lot of frame rate drops. Very poor car handling, which you could chalk up to poor controls. But maybe the overall control of the game is okay. It's just where the car handling is bad that it really, really suffers. And there's a very badly executed map, and here's why. You're playing on a 3DS, right? And if you're familiar with the 3DS, I have one here. There's a top screen and a bottom screen. The bottom screen is touch screen. The top screen is purely visual, but also handles the 3D if you're using the 3D features. Well, they, in their brilliance, decide, okay, we're going to put a map on the bottom part of the screen so you can track where the, I don't know what you call objectives are, I guess, and see where the other racers are. That would be fine. That would be fine. But to zoom in and out and interact with the map in a meaningful way, you have to like manipulate the map with your fingers because it's touchscreen, which means having to take your fingers off the controls if you want to mess with the map. And who the hell wants to like remove their finger from what's controlling their car and their accelerator or brake just to mess with the map? They should have put a lot more thought into how they wanted to execute the map on this. And let's see, sad announcer dialogue. Oh boy. Yeah. Sad announcer dialogue. So goodbye Asphalt 6 Adrenaline, aka Asphalt 3D. It's not so much what the audio, the announcer dialogue sounds like, it's like what the announcer says. Here, I'll grab a quick there was a blurb in the review. Where was it? Oh, that's right. There we go. Here we go. Oh, okay, here we go. Here, right here. And I'll put on my cheesy announcer accent. Some of the worst announcer dialogue we've ever heard. They say South Beach never sleeps, and you won't want to be sleeping on these corners, so you'll put the dye in beach diet. Yeah, that kind of quality of writing. We sigh and say goodbye. Now then, let's move on to Driver Renegade. And let's see, what do we want to signify emptiness? Emptiness, emptiness, emptiness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Well, this hand is empty. Good enough, right? A little bit of a stretch, but eh. Oh, wrong button. Let's talk about this. Driver Renegade 3D. So, there's like no variety in the gameplay whatsoever. It's just like, missions, drive, objective, next. Oh, I guess I should... Oh, doggone it. These controls sometimes, man, I swear. All I was trying to do was click on that. Instead, it clicks through and puts fire on the screen. That's like the one gameplay flaw I think I would point out in this game. Anyway. Any frickin' way. Yeah, so the gameplay is very repetitive due to the lack of variety. New cars are only unlockable by completing missions in hard mode. Which some people might think, oh, well, that's pretty normal. But then again, I mean, this is a 3DS game. Come on. There's no reason to have all of the variety. You know, the thing that would actually give the game some variety, new cars, completely locked behind hard mode. And there's no multiplayer to speak of. The environments are very sparsely populated. And the voice acting is pitiful. And there's one character in the game that there's a lot of cringy just dialogue and poor voice acting, and there's one character that can't go a single sentence without swearing. So you got that going on. Hope everybody's having a good day. I know I am. I had to push this stream back a day because yesterday I woke up with a really nasty sore throat and it was very uncomfortable to talk and swallow. I was like, yep, not streaming today. Next game. Cubic Ninja. So, this one's pretty straightforward, eh? We get our handheld. We get some cubes. Some more cubes. We get our ninja. And we'll get this too. So let's talk about this game, Cubic Ninja. Wait just briefly to bring up the art. If you can truly call it that. There we go. Alright. So, Cubic Ninja has some rather unimpressive environments. Very inconsistent stage design quality, and by that I mean there's some elements to it that are fun, but the fun moments are too few and far between and don't last very long. Otherwise, it's mostly just tedious. Same old, like, weird, clunky control scheme where you gotta... It's like one of those games where you have to tilt. It's like one of those square labyrinths where you have to, like... I think it's like you have to, like, tilt your 3DS like this in order to, you know, use physics and gravity and crap. And, I personally don't find that fun. I mean, in Breath of the Wild, there were a few tilting labyrinth puzzles. Those were okay, because it didn't dominate the whole game. This, I mean, that basically is the whole game. So, yeah, clunky controls. It was priced as, like, just a full price, you know, full 3DS release, which I guess would have been about $40. But what you get for it is, you know, most people don't feel like it's worth the price. Based on what I read, I'm inclined to agree. And one thing they really missed the potential for, I guess, growing the game was how it's very difficult to share your creations, because they have a level design option in the game, and you can share your creations. But unlike, say, the Mario Maker games where you can upload them for other people to find them, there's none of that. There's no online multiplayer elements of any kind. All it does, you generate a QR code, and the only way you can share it is if you have a friend take a picture of your 3DS. Like, take a picture of the QR code, like, with their phone, and then scan it with their own 3DS, or take a picture of it with their 3DS. Or, who knows, maybe if you have a webcam that has high enough resolution, you could hold your 3DS up to your camera, and they could scan the QR code off of your 3DS that way. I have no idea. But either way, they missed a huge opportunity by not having it easier to share your personal builds. So let's say goodbye to this rather missed opportunity. Pop goes the ninja. Next game. Let's talk about Farming Simulator 14. Now let's see. What could we use for the farming simulator? Gotta have some corn. Gotta have that. And some flower seeds. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, sure, there's such things as mushroom farms. We'll grab some of those too. Our handheld, of course. Oh, we gotta have a scarecrow if we're talking about farms. That's good, I think. So let's talk about Farming Simulator 14. This was a follow-up to Farming Simulator 3D. But here's the problem. Uh, Gameplay-wise, it's okay. But here's the things where people felt it really could have used some work. There's not enough tutorials or explanations in the game. They kind of flop you down into your world, and you have a few vehicles and a few fields. But there's very little exposition. Like, there's no story to speak of. And, yeah, like, they give you a manual, but you have to, like, flip through it yourself to find information on anything, which can be a little annoying when in most all games you would get information about things that you're interacting with the first time you interact with them sometimes. So there's no tutorial elements, or at least not enough of them, which turned a lot of people off. Also, very steep learning curve to get the whole farming loop down of, you know, tilling your fields, planting your seeds, watering your crops, harvesting the plants, you know, and driving them to a cellar and this and that. People who played other farm games in the past, you know, might have picked up on that, but if this was somebody's first farming game, and I just... stupid. Well, let's throw everything in here. There we go. Pop that popcorn. Anyway, the review's not that much longer, so... It also has, very useless, shoehorned, like, little missions in the game to make extra money. But, like, the deviation from your farming activities, like, is not worth, like, the amount of money you get. So it's, like, it's borderline pointless. Like, it'd be something like a crate fell off a truck or something like that. So you drive your car, you pick one of your vehicles, you drive out to find it. You pick it up, you, I guess, take it back to whoever was asking for it, and you get a little bit of money. Meanwhile, you know, your farm, you know, your whole productivity loop at your farm might be suffering because of that one vehicle that you've reallocated to go find that package. And so it's not worth it. It's like, it was a stupid thing. It's almost inviting your player to just to throw a monkey wrench in their own operation. So, while the gameplay elements themselves were pretty solid, those are some pretty big strikes against it. So, now let's talk about Wreck-It Ralph. Now, let me go out and say I love Wreck-It Ralph. I went to that movie, enjoyed it immensely. I actually still haven't seen Ralph Breaks the Internet. I hope to see that eventually. You own the Wreck-It Ralph game? Let's see. This can be our Fix-It Felix. And which of these is the best for Wreck-It Ralph? I mean, he is a big brawny goof. So, sure, let's just have that. And we'll have our pixelated video game tree just for nostalgia. So, one would have expected this game to be remarkable, because the movie was such a masterpiece. Here's the problem. Very, very shallow gameplay. They made it into a 2D platformer, which I guess seems like the best idea for a game based on a movie that cashes in so much on nostalgia. But the problem is it wasn't done well. Like, there's no challenge to the game, very little variety in the gameplay. They reuse a lot of the assets in the game, they just give them a different coat of paint. And all the puzzle elements are overly simplistic, once again, not challenging in the least. And they actually tell you when you need to switch characters. So they eliminated all the challenge. Now, I mean, maybe you could excuse that by saying, oh, well, it was a game based on Disney movies, so it was more targeted towards kids, but I mean, I beat Super Mario Brothers when I was 7. So some people might not find Super Mario Brothers all that hard, but it's far from the easiest Nintendo game. Especially once you get to the World 8, especially if you're not using warp zones. My point is, kids are not that feeble in figuring things out and rising to challenge. I don't know why game companies seem to think that's the case. There we go. So, and then overall, the game itself is pretty short, and due to the lack of variety and challenge, it just feels tedious. You're just getting from one end of the level to the other without any real sense of fun, which is sad. So, I'm gonna wreck it. Or rather, I'm gonna burn it. And we shoot ducks while we wait for the flames to spread. Bully. Bully. Alrighty. Next Fuego. Ooh boy. Urban Champion. Oh boy. Okay. So this was a beat 'em up. So we'll use the hand, and you'll understand why in a minute. What other elements can we throw in here? We need our handheld, because it's on the handheld. Pixels. Just pull in all the nostalgia stuff. Is that it? Yes, so. Which is okay. Alright, yeah, we'll just go with this. So let's talk about Urban Champion. See, this game doesn't even have a proper cover art, because for 3DS it was a downloadable game. And it's a port of the original NES game, Urban Champion. Now, to be fair, they added a couple of elements that were not in the original game. They made these levels where you could where you can go for like increasing your rank based on how many fights you win. But like none of the things that they added improve the core gameplay. And the core gameplay is nothing to write home about. I mean, there's a reason that you never hear people talk about Urban Champion when they're talking about their lists of like good, memorable, legendary, noteworthy NES games. There's a reason Urban Champion never comes up. And it's because the gameplay is repetitive and boring. You literally just walk through the street punching people. Punch, punch, punch. And all the people are just palette swaps of your character. And then in the original game, the screen just loops 3 times. There's just 3 screens that loop. So, I mean, I don't know what they were expecting, trying to take this game and upgrading it for 3DS. But in their defense, they tried, but they didn't do enough because they didn't... I don't know how much you could have improved the core gameplay of this that was such as little a beat 'em up as you could possibly make, but it just wasn't enough. Just, I feel sad for anyone who actually spent money on this. Yep. Added features, but none that improve the core gameplay experience, which is repetitive, boring, and just not fun. So goodbye, Urban Champion. Sad. I mean, I know there has to be a lot of other NES games available on the 3DS, but don't you think maybe the creative team or whoever's in charge of deciding what to port would look at the reviews for the original Urban Champion and go, yeah, let's port that to our current gen handheld. Alright, so now we're talking about Myst. And put these framed photos, and for those of you who, there we go, like a TV screen. And is there anything that's paper? Okay, good enough. And then let's something that's computer related, since this was originally a PC game. Oh yeah, we still need our handheld. I guess email? Ah, okay, I guess we have enough. Never mind. So let's talk about Myst. Now, Myst is one of the best-selling, most popular, highly acclaimed PC games of all time. So, you would expect that a port of this game would be good. You would expect. I've actually played Myst all the way back in like 1997, I want to say. 98. Oh. There we go. So, in the game of Myst, I won't give away too much just in case no one's played it. You have to find these pages and figure out who killed this guy. If you played the game, you'll understand the meaning of the frames. You talk to certain people within these TV screens, which is why the TV screen is here too, and it's a very like sort of I don't know if I call it rustic, but it's like a very quaint environment, and it almost creeps you out because just how quiet it is. But if you played the game, you'd understand. But in the game, you have to find these pages and figure out who the killer is of a certain person. And along the way, go around, solve puzzles. You know, it's a point-and-click game. Now, that's important. Point and click. Okay? That was the original game. Point and click. Let's talk about Myst on the 3DS. It has ugly pixelated graphics, so whatever they decided to try to do, the 3DS engine just, I guess, could not handle a game from 1993. Which is fine. You know, if a piece of hardware can't handle something, it can't handle something. But don't shoehorn it on there and just put out an ugly game just for the sake of putting out an ugly game. Because of this, There's also very poor audio quality, which you would have expected a better, at least better voice sampling on a 3DS, because in other games where there's actual voice, the voice sounds actually pretty decent. So, because of like how muddy the graphics are, when you're reading the text, and there's a lot of text, it's barely legible because like it's so low res. Like even if you were like playing it in 1993 on a monitor that was like 640 by 480, that still would have given you a better picture of the text than what this 3DS was apparently capable of. But who knows? Maybe the 3DS wasn't the problem. Maybe it was the people porting it that didn't do enough graphical enhancement on it and just got lazy. I don't know. I'm not an expert on game development, but it all just drowns the Myst experience out into something that is borderline unplayable. Oh yeah, I wrote that at the end. Borderline unplayable. So, barely readable text. And here's where they really screwed the pooch. Okay? The interaction in the game is on the top of the screen. Now, normally you'd say, okay, that's normal. You know, the gameplay's up here, menus down here. But here's the thing. Myst was a point-and-click game. Why the hell would you not make this touchscreen interactive and put the screen down here and then maybe put the menus up here or something? Because in this game, you have to move your little cursor on the top screen using the circle pad, which is awkward as hell. Whoever was in charge of that decision needs to be fired, if they haven't been already. So, let's say goodbye to Myst, and eradicate this stain on the legacy of an otherwise fantastic PC classic. Oh boy. That's probably the most disappointing one out of all the ones I've read when I researched this. I'm like, because I had no idea they ported Myst to the 3DS. It's like Sonic Genesis and Game Boy Advance. Yeah, kinda. A butchered port of a classic game. And finally, speaking of Sonic, Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal. Ooh boy. So, because it's Sonic, let's get all of our animal friends. And we'll get out the Sonic Boombox. Now, I talked about this game in my Bad Sonic Games, Little Inferno, one of my earliest. And this game is plagued by very jarring stop-and-go action, which forces you to switch to other characters. Now, normally, switching to other characters would be fine, but this is a Sonic the Hedgehog game. You would expect to just be running through levels and going fast, at least most of the time. But that's not the case here. Fortunately, Sega improved himself on Switch with Sonic Mania. Yes, I've heard good things about Sonic Mania. So here's the thing. The gameplay is repetitive, and by repetitive I mean literally repetitive. They force you to go back into levels that you've already done to get all of the crystals or whatever these collectibles are. So the stages are completion locked, meaning that if you haven't gotten the all the like collectibles in the previous stage, the next stage doesn't unlock, which is stupid. They shouldn't have programmed it that way. Uh, the mini map is poorly executed. It doesn't show you where you've been and where you have yet to explore, which is probably bare minimum for any mini map in this day and age. I mean, we might have been able to forgive the original Legend of Zelda with its giant gray rectangle and little green square back in like 1986, but now that kind of thing's unforgivable. Let's see. Very poor writing. Oh yeah. Oh, I've read a little bit of a blurb of the dialogue from the game, and it's terrible. And to make matters worse, every new level you get to, there are unskippable cutscenes, which is awful. So let's give them a sonic boom that they'll never forget. Alright, kitty cat, take a giant dump right on Sonic Boom. There you go. Sonic Mania Plus has Mighty and Ray from the arcade classic Sonic game. Sega Sonic the Hedgehog? Okay. Alright. That's this list done and dusted. Another batch of terrible games has been incinerated. Next up, let's see, should be Saturday, and that will be bad PSP games. I've never owned a PSP, so I'm looking forward to doing the research on this to see like what games in the modern era of Sony got past Sony's watchful eye onto its handheld. So, thank you all for hanging out and watching. It was a lot of fun once again. Make sure you hit all the social medias, check me out on Twitch. And otherwise, have a terrific day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. And I will see you all in the next one.